Hello everyone, welcome to Piesta's book reviews number 22, I believe, where I talk about the books that I've been reading on the last couple of months. The pile was starting to get a bit big, so I decided let's do the video and get it over with so that the next video won't be as long. So so books that I've been reading, let's get right into it. First one that I picked up is a classic, Phillip K. Dick, Ubik. It was very known. I hadn't read it yet, but I heard a lot about the title especially. And I had read other things from Phillip K. Dick, mostly The Sheep's Dream of Electric Dreams. And I liked it a lot. I like his way of writing, and I like science fiction in general, so I was very curious to read this one. Picked it up, quite good, highly recommend it. Very much about dream states and technology in the future involving dream states. What can be real, what is not real, what is dream. So very interesting. I like the whole storyline, the action on it. It was not what I was expecting. I was expecting something different, so it was surprising in that regard. But it was still very interesting, and still, especially considering the time it was written. It says here that it was written, copyright 1969 and published in 1973. So for the year that it was written, it has really a lot of forward-thinking things going on. So very interesting read. So highly recommend it. I think I give it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I'm not sure. Maybe a 3 or a 4. Probably a 4. Yeah. So yeah, Ubik, Phillip K. Dick. Then I moved on to a couple of books from a Portuguese author called Possidónio Cachapa, which is an untranslatable name. This is one of the books that I read. It's called Hang On to My Flaming Chest. So it's like I'm on fire, but you should hold on to me and we'll make it together somehow. And it's a collection of small stories by the author. I had read another book by him called Materna Doçura, which means, I don't know how the hell to translate it into English. I'm not sure it was translated into English, probably not. The title means something like sweet, maternal sweetness, something like that. So yeah, that was the book that I read before, and I really liked that one, so I was looking for more stuff from the author. Here's a photo of the author, by the way. It's on the back cover. And the stories are quite interesting. The main story on this one is quite good. The last story is also quite good. And there are a few in between, and they're more or less okay. Some things you are more relatable, other ones you are not. But overall, it's a pretty good book. I think I give it a 4 stars. The first story in particular is very interesting because it's told from the point of view of inhabitants of a village in Alentejo, which is a region in Portugal that is, known for being a little backwards. They're not following the trends of technology that much, and the culture is also a bit backwards. So there was a particular boy there that was gay, and openly gay, and the other boys shunned him for it, and the family also shunned him for it. And the story is a little bit about him, but also about a woman that was also, she was sleepwalking by some reason. And well, there's a whole thing about how they meet and how they find each other, and like discrimination brings people together somehow in a weird way. But it's very funny because of the way that he writes. He writes in a very sarcastic way, telling things how it is, but in a very how do you call it? The society portrayed it here as a lot of prejudices against other people. There's a lot of cultural backwardness in it. So yeah, very interesting, and also at the same time it's insightful into that kind of society, and also criticizes the society at the same time. So yeah, very interesting read. I really liked it. So yeah, Possidónio Cachapa. Then I read another one, also by Possidónio Cachapa, which is My Dear Titanic. And this one is a collection of stories that he wrote for a newspaper of sorts. It's like review articles, and he collected them all into a book. It's not that thick. There are quite a few, like 18 stories maybe, something like that. And it's more critical of Portugal overall, and people wanting to write and people not knowing how to well, how do I say this, the mentality of people overall, and that criticizes it a lot. And it also has a little bit of the sarcasm that it was apparent on the other books, but this one is more straightforward and saying what he thinks. It's different from the other stuff. I like the other ones better, not this one so much, but still interesting to read. Not sure if I give it a 3 or 4. But yeah, it was interesting read. Anyways, moving on. Another Portuguese author, Miguel Esteves Cardoso, O Amor fodido, which means love is fucked up. And I picked up this book because I know this author for being in the TV a lot. He's usually an invited guest to say his opinions about several controversial subjects, and is always very sarcastic and blunt. So I kind of like his style of opinionating things. So I thought the book might be good, even though it has very bipolar reviews. Some people really loved it, some people really hated it. I thought maybe it was smart enough that it could actually be good. And well, it is written in the viewpoint of a man. The man is not a very smart man. He's obsessed with sex, as most men are. Let's say it as it is. And eventually he found this woman that was also quite obsessed with sex, and they had a very good relationship, or a very interesting relationship. Eventually they separated each other because of things that I don't want to say to not spoil the story. But he was traumatized by that separation, and he still remained obsessed with sex, of course, but sex never was the same as it was with the original woman. He had fallen in love, so he really hates the woman, and the way that he writes is always about that, like, I really hate you, I wish you were alive so I could kill you again. And that kind of thing. And it's all like ramblings of a man through the different stages of his life. All of them are a bit maniac. The writing style changes a bit as well. That might be on purpose to try to portray that the man was more or less, how do you say it, brain dead. That he's not a very smart man. He just takes things straightforward. But yeah, I didn't really like the book. I liked the way it was written, or some ways that it was written. The concept was interesting, but the story has some twists, but the characters are stupid. The main character is just an idiot person, and the characters around him are also a bit not very, how do you say it, realistic. And yeah, he was obsessed with this love story of his, or pseudo love story of his, and sex and love just became an aberration for him, and he started having these sexual deviances, which become very explicit on the storyline through several parts, but there is no conclusion. The only conclusion is that love is fucked up, so it fucks people up, and that's pretty much it. So I didn't really like it for its conclusion, or its lack of conclusion, or very bad conclusion. But other than that, the writing is okay-ish. I think I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know. I was expecting more, at least. Anyways, graphic novels. The Walking Dead number 29 arrived this this month, and I read it already. Has some new characters like this lady that is portrayed here. Story goes on. I can't really spoil it for you guys, so just say that it's really worth it. I still don't regret doing the collection. It's always good to have another issue, and I can't wait for number 30 to show up. So yeah, Walking Dead, quite good. Thumbs up. Nameless, another graphic novel. This one is by Grant Morrison, Chris Burnham, Nathan Fairbairn, and Simon Boland. What to say about Nameless? I'm a bit divided. It's a space adventure kind of thing, but it's also a bit psychedelic, and it involves dream states, and it involves some alien beings invading us. So it has like a mix of Lovecraft horror, but in space, which, when I describe it like this, sounds like it can be good. And the drawing style is also pretty good. Let me try to find some references. I have some good stuff. Open another one, random one. So the drawings are good. The concept is good, but it fails to deliver because it just jumps from concept to concept. There is like no... The linearity of it is not very cohesive. There is a lot of points where from one page to the other one you are wondering if there are some pages missing, and it has a lot of recurrent dreaming kind of thing, or lucid dreaming kind of thing, where something happens and then the character is somewhere else and you are left wondering if is it the future, is it the past, is it an alternate reality, is it he woke up from a dream, is he still on the dream, and then they go back to the other one, and it's a bit of a mess. It's not well written in that regard. The storyline itself is interesting, but they make it over complex in a way that it becomes more psychedelic. I guess that was the point why they made it like this, as complicated as this. It's a bit more psychedelic, and you get a bit more lost in the horror. Maybe they were trying it to give more impact for the horror, but overall I was not convinced with Nameless, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I was disappointed with it. I was promised proper Lovecraftian space horror, and I was not fulfilled with it. So yeah. Other stuff that I've been reading is the 7th issue of the Harry Hole storyline from Jo Nesbo. This one is the Snowman. Well, I love Harry Hole as the character, so I liked the book overall. It was a bit, you could see some things coming in easierly than you could on the previous books. So I don't know if I'm just getting used to Jo Nesbo's writing style or trickery, but I could foresee a lot of the things that happened here, so that ruined it a little bit. But overall the story was still pretty good, and it had some very good parts that really grabbed you and gave you empathy for the characters. The characters are well developed. It's very good cinematically. Like, it really gives you good imagining of how the scenes work out, and the dialogues between the characters and that kind of stuff. So in that aspect I really loved it, but I was a bit disappointed on the storyline because it felt... Some of the other Jo Nesbo Harry Hole thrillers felt a bit like over complex. They had too many twists. This one didn't have that many twists, but they were too obvious. So yeah, but on Goodreads this one is highly rated than the other one, so I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Anyways, I still liked it. I'm still gonna keep following the Harry Hole thriller series. Maybe not right now. I'm gonna leave it settle down a little bit for me to feel interested in reading them again. But it's a really good read, really fluid, so I recommend Jo Nesbo and the Snowman in particular. And then, last but not least, I needed to have some Neil Gaiman in my life, of course, so I was reading this, which is The High Cost of Living of Death. Death being the sister of the Sandman, Dream. So Neil Gaiman did this short, just 3 issues long thing with Chris Bacalo and Mark Buckingham. You can see the third cover on this side. Second cover is inside. I'm not gonna bother taking it out, but the very good. It's pretty much similar to the Sandman in terms of story writing quality. Neil Gaiman doesn't disappoint. I was a bit skeptic that when I saw the storylines being ended at the end of the first and second volumes, or not ending but left pending. I felt like they could use a wrap, but well, it's supposed to be continued on the other issue. So if you read all 3 of them in a row, it's fine, which was what I did. So all 3 of them combined, it's a good read. Each of them separately, it becomes a bit dodgy if it's as interesting or not. But yeah, overall, I really liked it. It's also very interesting to see like they have adverts in the middle for other stuff. In the middle of the comic, so it was very interesting to see the stuff that was being advertised in 93 or 97. Yeah, 93 is here, March 93. So it had something with the World Wrestling Federation. It had a Macho Man trying to sell you this thing for you to work out. It was one of the things that was here. Also, there was this Walkman with digital audio. For digital audio, I never even seen tapes that are digital, but apparently there was a thing, and they tried to sell it at some point, and obviously it failed because the MP3 player and the iPod showed up later on. But yeah, I was more interested in actually the adverts in the middle of the comic than the actual storyline. But the storyline was good as well. And I really like Death as a character, so it was really cool. And I like the conclusion. The conclusion was also very good. So yeah, highly recommend it. But yeah, Neil Gaiman, you know, you can't go wrong with Neil Gaiman. I have yet to read anything from Neil Gaiman that is short of stellar. So I don't know. So yeah, those are the books that I've been reading on the last couple of months. Sorry, this video was a bit too long, but you know what it's like. So let me know what you guys think. Have you read any of this? Can you recommend any stuff that is similar or different or close? Does this remind you of anything? Let me know your comments on the discussion box below. And yeah, see you next time. Bye bye everyone. Take care.